Good evening and welcome to the City of Pacifica Planning Commission for Monday, October 5th, 2015. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Vaderlaus?
Here.
Commissioner Evans?
Present.
Commissioner Gordon?
Here.
Commissioner Campbell?
Here.
Commissioner Cooper?
Present.
Commissioner Brown and Commissioner Niblin are not here tonight.
Thank you. We'll have the salute to the flag and I'll lead it. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, on to administrative business. Approval of the order of agenda. Let's see, Commissioner Evans.
I move to approve the order of agenda.
Commissioner Gordon.
Second.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. Please vote. All right, unanimous approval from those present. Next, approval of the minutes for the September 21st, 2015 meeting. Commissioner Evans.
I move to approve the minutes of September 21st, 2015 minutes.
Thank you. Commissioner Vaderlaus.
I'll second.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. Please vote. And that's approved unanimously by those present. Next, designation of a liaison to the City Council meeting. Any need?
None needed.
Okay, thank you. Next up, oral communications. This portion of the agenda is available to the public to address the Planning Commission on any issue within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission that is not on tonight's agenda. The time allowed for any speaker will be 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to speak on something not on the agenda, please fill out a card at the back of the room and hand it up. Here, I don't see any cards. I don't think I have any. No? Okay. All right, then I'm going to close oral communications, and there are no consent items tonight, so we're going to go right to the public hearing. This public hearing is in regard to site development permit and coastal development permit, use permit, and tentative condominium map to construct a 1 3-story condominium duplex and 1 3-story condominium triplex, 5 units total, on Montecito, on 15 and 29 Montecito Avenue. This project is located in the appeal area of the coastal zone. The recommended CEQA status tonight is exempt, and the proposed action is to approve as conditioned. Staff report, please.
I wanted to just jump in and I wanted to introduce our consulting planner, Turhan Sanmez. And so I don't think he's been before you yet. And so I'll go ahead and turn it over to him.
Good evening, Commissioners. Happy to be here. I am Contract Planner Turhan Sanmez, and I will be introducing tonight's item. Before you tonight is a project proposal consisting of 1 3-story condominium duplex and 1 3-story condominium triplex to be constructed on 2 separate lots at 15 and 29 Montecito Avenue. The units range in size from 2,281 to 3,186 square feet of livable floor area, and each unit includes 2 covered garage spaces. Both lots have existing non-conforming single-family residences which have fallen into slight disrepair and are to be demolished prior to construction of the proposed duplex and triplex. In 2013, the Planning Commission approved an almost identical 3-story condominium project on 2 separate lots on Santa Rosa Avenue, directly north adjacent to tonight's project location. The project was proposed by the same applicant, Mr. Moazami, who is present tonight, and the project is currently under construction. Staff recommends approval of the proposed project because it is consistent with the general plan, including the residential density requirements. It complies with the zoning code requirements for the R3 district and clustered housing, and it is consistent with the local coastal program and city design guidelines. Staff finds the scale and massing of the proposed duplex and triplex to be appropriate for the sites and surrounding area, with both structures taking into account the existing character of the neighborhood and incorporating its positive elements. Also, Both structures' design incorporates a variety of materials, colors, heights, and setbacks to provide visual relief and interest while also maintaining a cohesive style. As recommended in the design guidelines, architectural features such as balconies, decks, and view windows are incorporated into the project to take advantage of the proximity to the ocean. Ample private open space, usable open space, and attractive landscape design are also incorporated into the project. Nine trees total are proposed for the site, including street trees. The two existing single-family homes at 15 and 29 Montecito are two of the few remaining single-family structures on the block. The vast majority of the surrounding development is comprised of 2- and 3-story multifamily structures. Therefore, the proposed project is more compatible with the surrounding neighborhood than the existing single-family structures, and it will replace the existing non-conforming structures with new, attractive, high-quality, and well-planned construction. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Oh, anything else? Okay, questions for staff? Commissioner Bartolows.
No, I just have to say that I did meet with Siavash ahead and went and toured the other buildings prior to this meeting.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any questions for staff at the moment, so let's have the applicant up to present. You have 10 minutes, and then you might field some questions from us at the end of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners and staff. I'll make it pretty short and quick and to the point. I really thank you for your time and cutting out an evening when we're the only agenda item for the evening. And, you know, I'm looking forward to moving forward with this project and entitling it and building it in the next 12 months. It's been a pleasure working with Turhan. He's been great to work with, and staff in general in the city of Pacifica. So I really don't have much to add, but I'm here to answer any questions if you'd like. I'm the applicant, you know, Siavash Mozami. Both property owners are in the audience as well. My wife, Tiffany Zamet, owns the home at 29 Montecito, and Reza Fakour Najad is also in the audience, and he's the owner of 15 Montecito. So unless you have any questions specifically for me, I'm just looking forward to working with the city and staff and moving along.
Commissioner Cooper.
I have a couple questions for you in regards to this development. The center of the triplex, building 2, is what unit 4. One of the things that comes in front of us all the time is the stowage of the garbage cans and the recycle bins and all that. And I don't see a common place for that on either of these buildings. I mean, there certainly is a side lot on Unit 5 and Unit 3, but I don't really see a common storage area. How are you going to address that?
Actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce my architect, Jonathan Clark, with SCG, who's here. So if anything, you know, as it relates to design or you know, the building structure, he can speak to. So.
Great.
Thank you.
No, please come on up.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Clark. I'm with SDG Architects. So, pretty straightforward question. On the duplex units, the intent is to have the refuge bins on the side yard behind a fence.
Can you explain, hate to interrupt, can you explain exactly where on the side yard that would be? I mean, it's a very narrow street. Those bins are probably 3.5 feet wide, 4 feet wide.
Yeah, so we have 5-foot side yards on both the duplex lot and the triplex lot. Bins do look pretty large. They're probably more like 30 inches square, which is about half that. So they would fit within the gate and then have to be on, you know, to the side. Your triplex unit, which is the unit in the middle, the intent would be to provide those refuge storage locations within the garage space, rather because there's no side yard.
The next question I had is, and thank you. The next question I had is that, you know, some of the times we were trying to remove the front doors visually from the street with a side entrance or kind of a cantilevered or a entrance from the side vestibule rather than the front vestibule. Is that something you looked at or considered?
So, like staff talked about or explained in their report, when we develop this product, it's always preferable for the front door to face the street, mostly for security reasons, so that people could see the front door is visible from the street. That was developed for the previous project. This project was essentially redesigned for these lots with that same intention. Side-facing entries are, to some people, aren't as desirable because of the security concerns.
The next question I had is, I was looking at some of the elevations within the property. It seems like you're probably about a foot above the street level for the foundation. I was just curious, in an area like this where we do occasionally get some water on our streets, have you thought about maybe raising the grade in this property at all?
So, that would typically defer to a civil engineer. They're the experts really on drainage. The only thing I could really comment on is they're providing the appropriate drainage. We ask that they put the building pads at a certain height from a building code standpoint, and they do so. Raising it above that usually isn't necessary unless there's some critical flood issues that like we could document and be aware of.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't anything with code. I just had noticed that it was pretty close to the street level and sometimes a little flooding. So
by code, we try and keep it 8 inches above the surrounding grade. And then depending on how they slope the garage driveways or so, it's probably within that 12 inches like you said. But again, they've incorporated all the drainage properly. And so we hope that things don't flood.
You're right. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Chair. I noticed for units 1 and 2 on the garage floor plan that you have the driveway going straight back, but then when you look at the plot plan, you have an indentation curvature for unit 2. And I was wondering which it is.
Which one it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. So, so I'll recap this so that people could follow along. The landscape plans and the civil plans show the curve for unit 2, and my architectural plans show it straight back.
Correct.
So according to this approval, the intention would be to follow the landscape and civil plans as they're drawn.
With the curvature.
That's correct.
I had a bit of concern. You already have a side-by-side interior garage that the outer car would have to curve backing up to get out of the single car garage door, and then you have to have it curve again. Was there a problem with keeping it straight, the driveway straight back as in the garage floor plan?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if there was a logistics issue of why it had to curve. I don't think we'd be opposed of looking at it going straight. I just have to check with the civil engineer and landscape architect.
I just have a concern with, backing up is difficult at best, and with 2 curves going in there backing up, I just thought if you could keep it straight, it might, because all the other driveways are straight back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was my question and concern. Thank you.
Commissioner Cooper.
Thank you, Chair. On unit number 4, is that just an enormous car that's sitting in there? Because I don't see how that car could fit in your unit 3. just visually looking at it, and I guess I
Okay.
was asking just about the depth of that
Yeah,
garage.
so if you look at, let me give you a little background here for a second. Unit 4 and Unit 5 are the duplex, they're essentially the duplex units that are the Unit 1 and 2.
Right.
Okay, Unit 3 obviously is the larger unit that's attached to the triplex. And because of its size, the width of the garage area is wider than the other 2 units. Therefore, the garage doesn't have to be as deep to get to the minimum parking space sizes that the municipal code requires. And so therefore, the garage depth could be much shorter on Unit 3. On Unit 4, it has to be further back, and so it looks like you squeeze yourself in there. But those parking spaces do meet the minimum municipal code. And yes, that car is quite large because it's a it's a CAD drawing of what a full-size car would be. Like a big 1970s Cadillac. No joke. I mean, that's how it's drawn.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I just had a comment on the question regarding Unit 2 and the curve in the driveway.
Yes.
So I'm looking at the civil drawings, and it does look like that section is adjacent to a catch basin that's to be protected. And so I don't think they could start the slope transition on top of the catch basin. So if it were to be straight, it would be on top of that slope
Okay,
would be on top of the catch basin.
all right. Yeah, not seeing this in here, I wasn't sure what the reason was for that, so, like I said, that's not a deal killer, but it was just a concern I had.
Did you have another question, Commissioner
Yes, I
Evans?
do,
Yeah.
Chair, thank you. If I can remember what it was. Come back to me. I got sidetracked on that.
Okay. I do not see any other questions, so we might call you back, but right now we're going to hear from any interested members of the public who want to comment on this.
Great, thank you.
So I'll open up the public hearing. Any cards out there, just hand them on up. If anybody else wishes to speak, just please fill out a card. Takes just a second, and you could just run it up here. Great. Okay, we're going to start off with Brian O'Flynn, and each member of the public has 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. Good to see you again. I'm here to speak in favor of the project. I'm happy to see that the existing dwellings that were on the project, which have kind of gotten a kind of a blighted state for a number of years, and probably have realistically reached the end of their life cycle in terms of construction. Given the quality of construction and the harsh coastal environment, they've really taken their toll. So I'm happy to see the area be improved. I think it's going to be a nice dovetailing into this particular city property here when they do the mixed-use development with the I think it's going to be a lot more compatible having that nicer properties across the street with this one. I'll be coming back to see you myself. I have a property at 2105 and 2115 Beach Boulevard on the corner of Santa Rosa. And I've got a real nice project which I'll bring to you in the next month or two. And I'm just very excited to see the general improvements in the quality of architecture and the materials and the durability of the area as it goes on. So I would like you to support the project as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Allison Schmidt.
Good evening. My name is Allison Schmidt. I reside at 15 Montecito, and that has been home to me for close to a year with my girlfriend Maria Messina. She's lived there for over 10. We do the best we can to upkeep that house, as it is a coastal house. It's been there for quite some time, and it has been in actual favorable shape, especially considering the house next to it. This is where our 10-year-old daughter resides. She's grown up in that house. This is the place that she knows best. She goes to Valley Marsh School, and she's currently involved in after-school curriculum with the theater at Spindrift, as well as the gardening club, poetry club, things that are dear to her. She is definitely taking this a little bit hard because her way of life is going to change. As if we are no longer able to stay there, it doesn't look like we'll be able to stay in this town. And it's difficult to make changes, especially at a younger age. Now, pardon me, we try to do our best in order to keep everything as well as we can. And we do realize that these homes are originally what sort of was happening in the area, which they're bungalows, they're still existing. And the changes that are happening is we're seeing everything go upward. Loss of, shall we say, parking spaces along the street that the fishermen daily use every single day in order to go to the pier, and things that people have become accustomed to. And this change is a change for the community, which will happen, and it just depends on whether or not we wish it to happen continually, to where these single-family homes will basically be left in waste so that somebody can develop and change this town. So thank you very much for your time. Do you have any questions for me by chance?
Oh, we can't do that, but thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, do we have any more speakers on this item? Yes. Okay. Okay, I see no more cards, no more speakers on this topic. I'm going to bring it back to the commission for deliberation. Commissioner Evans.
I just remembered my question, thank
Yes.
you. May I speak to the architect, please? In reference to what Commissioner Cooper had originally brought up for Unit 3, I see no distance marking on any of these of the depth of that number 3 garage. I see widths, but I don't see any depth. Am I just missing something?
No, you're absolutely right. It's not designated. The municipal code requires a parking space of 9 feet wide, 18 feet deep. So this garage meets that minimum, even though it's not called out. It definitely meets that.
It's definitely there then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
there's no way we'd be able to build anything.
No, I know. I was just
doesn't
wondering
meet
if
the code.
there was, you know, some of the others show, well, I guess they don't show
Actually,
depth.
if you look at sheet 1 of 7 on the tentative parcel map, it gives you some brief dimensions, 5.25, 5.92, and 8.38, which would give you 19.4 feet.
On which sheet?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner Gordon.
Oh, yeah, sir, I've got one more question for you. So the location of the project, it's pretty close to the water.
Yes.
And if you take a stroll along Beach Boulevard in that area, you'll see a lot of residences that haven't fared very well given those conditions, the
correct.
wind and the salt in the air and whatnot. I'm wondering if you could speak about the kinds of sort of precautionary or preventative materials you're using, or what's the plan for keeping the construction in better shape than what the way its neighbors have fared?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, being in Pacifica, you're right on the ocean. So salt water and salt mist and anything with salt is obviously a great concern. So most of the materials that are chosen to fare well in that environment. Now, building materials, being that they're natural materials, everything decays over time or ruins over time. The primary materials that we're using are stucco. I mean, most of the building, obviously, the duplex is completely stucco. The triplex is stucco for 75% of the building. which is obviously a cement plaster-based material, concrete or cement-based material, which will hold up fairly well in the environment. Another concern of that is metals. So, the railings that we show, they're not stainless steel, but they're galvanized and they're painted to protect against the elements as best as possible. We mount them a certain way, especially out here, so that if there is water intrusion and corrosion, they can be easily replaced from a construction maintenance standpoint. The triplex building is proposed to have cement fiber siding, which again is another cement based product. Hardy is the most popular one that people are familiar with, again for durability reasons. And also we're proposing to put on, they're called composite panels, which are essentially a smooth fiber cement product that's essentially laid out in a architectural pattern that you see on the elevations. So primarily we're using a lot of cement-based products and treating the metals that are exposed to the elements as best as possible. Very little wood, like actual wood, right, to mitigate, some of that deterioration that we see very quickly in this type of environment.
Thanks.
Commissioner Evans.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Chair. I just had a question on the driveway. I noticed it for the legend just has driveway area. Is that permeable pavers? Is that concrete?
No, absolutely not. It's concrete.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a decorative, they put score lines in it. It's not a permeable product.
Okay, thank you.
I just had one more question, and you may have already answered this before, but I just wanted to get straight on it again, because I walked through that neighborhood and I saw, like one of the other commissioners mentioned, even I've walked through there in high tide seasons, and I've seen sandbags, I've seen flooding, that type of thing, and this does seem really low to the ground, considering kind of the problems that the other buildings around it are presently facing. So I'm just, can you lead us through the thought process one more time on why this wasn't raised?
So I could lead you through the thought process how I understand it. Obviously, I don't design the grading, right? A civil engineer looks at the site as it exists, and his goal is to provide proper drainage in compliance with code and what's that other one? C3 requirements, which are the requirements that require water to be treated before it goes in the storm system and things like that. To those standards first. And then, our building is required to be a certain amount of distance above the existing grade or whatever that grade is. And so he picks the height of the building based on how he could comply with all that. Doesn't mean he can't go higher, but he picks the height based on what's the most cost-effective way to make everything work, right? So that's why you get about a foot change, because that means we don't have to bring in a lot of dirt to raise the whole building up. He could use the existing ground as best as possible and still be able to construct a foundation within the building code requirements. I'm not sure if I could speak to flooding of the streets, just because I'm not a resident here and I haven't experienced that or I'm not aware of that.
Well, I definitely appreciate the candor. And maybe before you leave, I just wanted to maybe direct a question to staff if I could, and Commissioner Vardalos, I'll get to you in a second. What's your opinion on the flooding and some of the forces of nature out there that are affecting the homes at present, and then this home, did you look at that?
Yeah, so we have a floodplain management ordinance. Actually, this area, I don't believe, is in the designated floodplain, as far as I understand. So here you have a variety of things going on. You have some older homes and properties who may or may not be at an appropriate level. In implementing that ordinance, when this project comes in for building permit, our building official needs to determine, in addition to the civil engineer's recommendations, that it is at a level that's outside, puts the structure outside the floodplain. And so the civil engineer is aware of that, and I'm sure is designing the project as such.
Okay, and this is outside that floodplain zone, is my understanding? Thank you. Commissioner Bartolaus.
I had a staff question. When we saw this other project on Santa Rosa, I asked this question too. Instead of these being condominiums, was it considered that they be attached single-family homes instead of condominiums?
I have no history on Santa Rosa,
Okay.
so I apologize that I can't speak to that. But I can say that that was what was proposed. And so
okay.
staff did not make a request to change the status.
Okay.
Are you happy with that, or do you want me to give my 2 cents?
Oh, I'll take your 2 cents.
So for all intents and purposes, they are single-family attached homes. I mean, what makes them a condominium is we don't have property lines in between each unit. Does that make sense?
But you have homeowners association?
Because it's a condominium, because
Okay.
we don't have property lines. Each unit owner doesn't own that whole piece of property. So that's exactly correct.
Okay, thank you.
Also, the project was reviewed subject to the cluster home development requirements, which are for owner condominiums as opposed to for rent apartment buildings.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Commissioner Gordon.
Thank you, Chair. Question for staff. Yeah, you mentioned that you did a examination of the project that's currently under construction by the same applicant nearby in Santa Rosa. Is that right?
An examination?
Or you looked at how it's progressing? How about that?
I didn't do an in-depth site visit, but I've driven by it many times and stopped and looked at it.
Okay, I guess I'm just wondering if you had any observations about how that project is going, if there's been any red flags, if there's been any problems as it's being built.
I don't have a construction background, and it's not the project isn't at the stage where it's complete and it's going to be at the point where a planner needs to go out there and final it or anything like that. So it's a little early for that. So I can't really comment, but it looks like a high quality development.
Speaking for the department, including planning and building divisions, there's been no issues with the project on Santa Rosa.
Thanks.
Commissioner Cooper.
Yeah, I was just noticing on some of these plans, seems to be this rogue fire hydrant sitting out in here that would appear to interfere with some of these driveways. Have you explored that or looked at that?
So, to my understanding, the fire department has a condition to relocate that fire hydrant.
Is that in the conditions? I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah, so it's shown on the civil plans too. Sheet 5 of 7. It's a note, relocate existing fire hydrant. It shows it tapped in, moved over essentially to be outside of the triplex on the east, the furthest, the eastmost side yard.
Question for staff. Is that typically included in the provisions?
To relocate a hydrant?
Yeah. Or is it sufficient enough to have it on the plans?
The fire authority may not have commented or provided a condition because they saw that on the plans, but we can, if the commission feels necessary, we can add a condition.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, there's a condition that talks about if there's a lack of fire flow to provide a fire hydrant. And so I might have mixed that up with the relocation. But at that time, when we do building permits, a fire flow test would have to be done, and if not appropriate fire flow water, we'd have to work with city staff and engineering to provide an appropriate fire hydrant.
Would you have a problem relocating that fire hydrant as part of one of the provisions?
Outside of where it's relocated now?
Just the provision to relocate the fire hydrant as part of the conditions for approval. I know it's shown on the plans, but
I just want to be clear, so are we talking about relocating the existing fire hydrant or relocating the fire hydrant where we're proposing it?
No, the existing fire hydrant of where it currently is. I just wanted to make sure that got relocated, even though it might show on the plans.
Yeah.
If it comes back as hey, you know what, this is something that the fire department to do, I'd like to put it as a provision that you'll be removing that.
No, I just want to be clear about what
Yes.
we're talking about. Okay.
I'm not going to have you move it twice.
No, yeah.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more lights. Suppose I'll give my 2 cents on this. I think that it's a big project. It's a lot of mass. It's a project that it comes pretty close to. I almost have a hard time making the first finding that the privacy of nearby residences will not be reduced, and the second finding that the architectural features of proposed structures would be integrated. I don't see neighbors coming out against it, which is interesting. So, and it looks like it's meeting the building requirements for flooding, which was a big concern. I understand the applicants, that it's cost effective to not fill in as much dirt, and I really hope that we don't have flooding of this in the future, because that would be a shame, considering all the warning lights that were passing by as we approved this project. But I'm inclined to vote in favor of it at this point. Commissioner Gordon.
Thank you, Chair. Let's see, so I'll just give my views. With all due respect to the current residents of those properties, it's definitely an upgrade in terms of modernizing that area. I appreciate that the design elements, especially the facade that's going to be facing the street, it's got some appeal to it with the balconies and the various textures on the front facade. The other views are a little bit blocky and kind of like Nouveau Penitentiary, but those aren't really visible by anybody since they're the rear and the side. So I'm fine with that. I like the trees there. It's asking for no variances. It's high. It's 33 feet high in elevation, but it sounds like it's consistent with other buildings in the area. And like I said, there's no variances being asked for. I like the way that it fits. It's going to be fitting within the development of Palmetto. We're going to need, as we develop more businesses in that area, we're certainly going to need residents who are going to be visiting those businesses. So I like how that fits. So all in all, I would say that I'm in favor of this project.
Commissioner Cooper.
Yeah, I would agree with the opinions of my fellow commissioners. I think, looking at this place in the coastal zone, taking into account that there potentially could be flooding, taking into account that the salt air, if you look around the homes, the materials are really important to making sure that it looks nice. As a condominium association, obviously the condominium association is responsible for a lot of the structure. To spend a little bit more money up front so it lasts longer obviously helps out the tenants or the people who own those condominiums. So, you know, obviously having a high-grade stainless steel for a railing would make the property look great for a much longer period of time. We do have a stainless steel railing out here on the front. I don't know who selected the stainless steel, but they did a fine job because it still looks good today. There are some railings that don't look so good. It's a poor quality material, it rusts. There are some new homes down on the ocean that you've seen, some simple things as a vent on the side of your stucco. Stucco is a great material, great for the coastal environment, but if you put a little galvanized vent on there, within a year it's going to have rust on it. So I really urge you to take the time and take the money and really look at upgrading some of those areas. As a condominium complex, you know, I know that most of this is common area for a lot of the residents. I do want to see those trash bins off of the street. I don't want to see them on the street or so visible to the public. So I think that is another important element of it. Besides that, I'm in favor of the project. I think it's a good improvement for the area. I think that it's something that's needed in the area. You know, it's a shame that we can't facilitate everybody's wishes when we make decisions, but I certainly think it's the right move for our community. So,
I got one question on this. Commissioner Cooper raised a good point, and this question for staff. Would we be able to condition, where it talks about decorative metal, for example, and metal railings and things like that, could we condition the use of stainless steel or something that won't rust in the coastal environment?
I would think that, yes, you could condition that. I think you may want to ask the applicant for comments on that before you do so, but I would think that that would be an acceptable condition to add.
I wouldn't mind just asking the applicant, would you care to step up and give us your opinion on that? I think it is, we have so many instances here of homes where a little bit of rust starts to run down the side of the house and it just looks awful.
I don't have a problem with that. In fact, on Rocktide, you know, all our nails were stainless steel on the outside, so we, you know, took that into consideration. You know, initially I was trying to live at Rocktide, but you know, the timing wasn't right for my wife and I. So now our plan is to hopefully live at one of the units in the triplex. So I'm fine with stainless steel. You know, hopefully that railing doesn't come back and kill the deal, but you know, I'm fine with that condition.
That's great. So places where we see it marked as decorative metal rail or things like that, that'll all be galvanized. That'll all be not galvanized. That will be stainless steel.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. I guess we'll add that as a condition. Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Chair. I'll put my 2 cents in too about the, I live directly, well, it's quite a ways away, but it's still directly in view of the ocean, and it's surprising what that salt air does to metal. And the only thing that stands up truly is stainless, and sometimes even poor stainless doesn't, and copper or plastics. But anything else, I've replaced galvanized right and left. It doesn't work. So I agree with the condition on the stainless. I like the design. I was looking at one that we've approved some time ago in picture E. It's right here next door. And it looks like a small version of what you're designing, and I commend you to keeping in line with what is going on. I know not everybody's in favor of modern. I personally am, but that's not something that we can dictate or anything like that, but I commend you for your design work on that. But also I like the idea that you've broken up the front area quite nicely with the different design, and it doesn't look blockish like the sides do. Nobody's going to be seeing the sides anyway, so it's, I think it's a nice design. I want to make sure that we stay on top of the elevation thing, as previously mentioned. We approved the one behind it, the 4 units behind it, so I can't see why we can't approve this one if they're in very, very similar design and build. So I don't have a problem with this. It looks good to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Vardalos.
I also agree. I did go see the other units, and I thought they were quality built. It is very consistent because they're right behind. These are the only single families left on this block. All the other properties are multi-unit, so it fits in with the neighborhood. There are several examples similar in the neighborhood, so I do think it fits, and I agree with your additions. That's it.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Gordon.
Well, I'm ready to make a motion unless there's more comments.
You got it.
I'm not seeing any. All right. Let's bring this puppy to shore. So, move that the Planning Commission finds that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act approved site development permit PSD-802-15, use permit UP-067-15, coastal development permit CDP-357-15, and tentative condominium map sub-229-15 by adopting the attached resolution, including conditions of approval in Exhibit A, and incorporates all maps and testimony into the record by reference, and an additional condition that all, oh, here we go.
2 additional.
2 additional provisions. The fire hydrant. You should have made this motion. So the first condition will be that where metal is used, anywhere where metal is used in the construction of the project, for example, the railings, that stainless steel be used and not instead of other materials like galvanized metal.
Exterior?
In the exterior of the building, yes. How does that sound? Yes, okay. So, and in terms of the fire hydrant, the second additional condition is that
Fire hydrant relocated by applicant.
that the fire hydrant will be relocated by the applicant. How about that?
Okay, we've had a motion, and Commissioner Evans.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second. Please vote. All right, that passes unanimously by all present. Anyone aggrieved? Congratulations, you have an approved project. Anyone aggrieved by the action of the Planning Commission has 10 calendar days to appeal its decision in writing to the City Council. All right, we don't have any consideration items, so we're going straight to communications. Commission communications. And Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, I wanted to extend a big warm welcome to our new contractor. What was your name again?
Turhan Sunmez.
Turhan. Welcome, Turhan, and thanks for a good job on this.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good job tonight. Thanks, Turhan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any of the lights on. Staff communications.
None tonight.
Okay. I do not see any other business here.
No, a motion to adjourn.
Oh, okay. We'll do a motion to adjourn. Also, I want to say I appreciate having council here tonight. Thank you very much. That's never, we don't ever want to overlook that, so thank you. We won't talk about that. And Commissioner, well, do you want to raise that?
Oh, no, I just wanted to ask,
Now, why is it on our desk?
Oh.
just for reading. This was on our, setting up here for us.
Oh, yes, that was just something that GGNRA wanted you guys to have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Evans. Oh, Commissioner Butterlaus, you wanted to make a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right,
Since
we've
you
had a-
called me.
We've had a motion and a second. Please vote. Unanimous passage. Thank you. This meeting is now adjourned.